Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Broad Stipe. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, randomness, out of blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the new Nicolas Cage film, The Unbelievable Weight of Massive Talent. Now, this is a film I've been curious about, and overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was a nice sort of tip to the hat to Nick Cage in his career. I mean, in the very first scene, we have two people watching Con Air. And they talk about how much they liked the film. So, right then, I'm like, okay, I'm in good hands with this movie. And the general gist of the plot is Nick Cage, his career's not going well, he's not doing the best with his wife and kid. He gets a job from his agent, played by Neil Patrick Harris, that, hey, there's this birthday party. He's like, what, I'm going to do this birthday party? But it's going to be for like $1 million. Nick Cage goes, and it's Pedro Pascal, who's in The Mandalorian. He's going to be in that new the show on The Last of Us video game. He is a big Cage fan. I thought Nick Cage playing himself, or a version of himself, and Pedro Pascal, they worked very well together. They did a great job. Pedro Pascal's fandom of Cage is endearing. And pretty much they start getting to know each other. They start becoming friends. Until the CIA tells Cage that Pedro is an arms dealer and a kidnapper, and Cage doesn't believe in it. And then it's kind of a film that starts off in our world and slowly kind of gets pulled into a Cage movie, so to speak. And one thing I've liked about Nicolas Cage is that while all the films may not be great, he's still picking interesting projects. That's more I could say for Sylvester Stallone. That's more that I could say for Arnold Schwarzenegger, let alone Steven Seagal. Because you look at Mandy, which is great, that deserves a 4K. Mandy, love Mandy. Whether it be Willy's Wonderland, which I loved. I didn't mind Mom and Dad for what it was. Color Out of Space was interesting, at least. I didn't even mind, well, it's a very flawed film, but I didn't mind one called Pay the Ghost, although the ending has a very flawed, bad-looking effects, but I didn't mind the idea behind that film. But anyway, at least his projects seem unique and different. They don't feel like the same movie over and over again, and I do appreciate that. And this is another one that I gotta put up there with, I would say, like Mandy, Willy's Wonderland, but this would be below them, but this is still one of the good ones. And it's like a nice little love letter. I mean, you get references to even Guarding Tess. I never thought I'd see a reference to Guarding Tess. The movie where Nick Cage is guarding, what was it, the former president's wife or whatever the hell. I'm like, there's a Guarding Tess? Like, wow. There's references to The Rock. There's references to Face Off. How do I go into this without spoiling stuff? I would say this. There's some pretty decent action at the end. Nothing mind-blowing, but some decent car chase stuff at the end. I had no issues with the direction of the film. The movie got a decent amount of chuckles out of me. And like I said, Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal played off each other fairly well. I guess to go more into spoilers starting now. He'll keep seeing a younger version of himself, and the younger version looks like the version that was in like Wild at Heart or what was the Valley Girl. or and that one is definitely more of a crazy Nick Cage. There's even a point where he goes, "You're Nick fucking Cage." I'm like, I wonder if that was an ode to what the hell was that movie with Michael Biehn? Maybe not. If it was, she said, "Hi, fucking yeah." But I don't know, for some reason, I just bet for the craziness of Cage at times. What do you think you're doing? You're Nick fucking Cage. It seems like Cage at least got the joke, was in on the joke. And but the family unit seems, you've seen this before where the family and him aren't getting along, but it wasn't as annoying or obnoxious as has been done in other films, so it still felt. What I found interesting was it reminded me a little bit of JCVD. I say that because Nick Cage, I remember when I think it was The Sorcerer's Apprentice came out, and he was doing an interview, and the interviewer was asking which films you've seen lately, and Nick Cage talked about how he saw JCVD and really liked it, and really enjoyed it. So it's like, like JCVD is kind of like this, and Nick Cage was a fan of it, and I don't know if there's any more connection than that to it, but okay, like moments that made me chuckle. Like there's a spoiler. There's a bit where the two of them, him and Pedro, are running, and they go off this cliff. And then as they go off the cliff, they go, "Oh shit!" They're like, "I didn't know the cliff was that high. I didn't know the cliff was that high." It's just that initial when they jump off, they go, "Oh shit!" Okay, that made me laugh. Pedro, he mentions one of his favorite films is Paddington 2. And then Nick Cage's like, "What?" And then as they watch it, they both cry. I thought that was kind of funny. When the CIA tells Nick Cage has to do something, at one point Nick Cage accidentally drugs himself. And the way he has to handle that, I thought that was some entertaining body, physical humor from Nick Cage. And like I said, references like guarding Tess, that's reference because Pedro has a speech about his dad was in a hospital and they looked at the TV and they were watching Guarding Tess. And in fact, there's then this scene later where Nick Cage is watching the movie Guarding Tess, and Nick Cage yelling in the movie scares Nick Cage in real life. There's another scene where Pedro asks him, "Let's take LSD together," so they do, and they both become very paranoid. And there was some funny stuff during that bits of business. There's the bit where Pedro shows his collection of Nick Cage stuff, and Nick Cage is looking at it all, and you even have the bunny from Con Air. And yes, Nick Cage actually does say, "Put the bunny back in the box." So, but that's a remember berries. That's a thing that makes sense because you talk about an actor playing himself, and you see a guy being a big fan of his career. So it makes sense in this movie, within the story frame, within what it's trying to tell. You get the point. It's, in a way, it's a love letter to Nick Cage himself, but at the same time, it's this crazy story, like a recent Nick Cage film. And you see the wax figure from Face Off, and you have the joke that's in the trailer, like, well, I don't know if it's in the trailer, but it's a joke of, "Oh, this is hideous. How much do you want for it?" And then in Super Sports, you find out that the actual villain is not Pedro Pascal, it was actually his cousin. And then again, when you get into the third act, Pedro invited the wife and daughter to try to help Cage out, And also, the girl at the beginning that was watching Con Air, she got kidnapped, and the CIA wants to find out what happened to her. And then Cage is in the middle of this, and the bad guys start chasing after them. First they chase after Pedro and Nick Cage, then they chase after all of them. And the car chases are done decently. They're done. Again, nothing. It's not The Rock. It's not going to be Michael Bay, but they're done for this type of film. Well coordinated, understandable to see what's going on. Cage has some moments to shine, like when a bad guy has a gun on him and Nick Cage giving this crazy speech and he gets the gun and pop, 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 pop. Or later on, he's held hostage and the daughter throws a knife and he grabs it, stabs the guy, and then it goes to the movie because what happened. It's kind of like the Hard Way, in that sense with Michael J. Fox, where a scene happens and then it transitions to the movie version of that scene at the end of that film. So it transitions to the movie scene, like what happened, they put into a movie that came out. So when he looks over, his wife is now played by Demi Moore. I'm like, oh, it's cool to see Demi Moore. Because to me, like, is that fucking Demi Moore? It is Demi. Oh, okay, they told what happened, they made a movie of it. I didn't like The Hard Way. And like I said, there's a nice bromance between Pedro Pascal and Nick Cage that's endearing. They don't make fun of Nick Cage and they don't make fun of the movies. And like I said, it's more of a nice love letter to it. It's not like a big, thunderous movie with a gigantic budget, so if you're expecting like a big event, I don't know why anyone would, but I'm just saying if somehow you are, it's not that type of movie. But like, even with my spoilers, I don't want to give a whole lot away, but once again, it's another Nick Cage film that showcases that at least this actor's willing to take a risk, willing to take a chance, and it may fall on his face, or it may result in something that's pretty decent time at the movies. And again, I think Sylvester Stallone and Arnold and them should take a page from this. I'd rather you say maybe Arnold tried to do that with Killing Gunther, but that wasn't taking a chance, it was taking a jump into a swimming pool full of acid. Because that's how you feel like watching Killing Gunther. This, or Mandy, or Willy's Wonderland, are more, there's possibilities of it being interesting. I don't think Killing Gunther had any chance of that. But yeah, if you're a fan of Nick Cage and you want to see a movie that, again, got some chuckles out of it, some alright, decent parts of action in the finale, I do wish for, okay, there's two things I wish. I wish, one, there's a big, like, slow motion shootout scene that could be the ode to, like, Con Air, The Rock. I was waiting for, like, at least one shootout scene between, like, Pedro and Nick Cage, especially with Nick Cage having the two guns, the golden guns, and bad guys. Maybe like a comedic version of a John Woo scene. You know, Face Off, you know, that type of stuff. I wish there was one shootout scene of that. And also, I do wish somehow they put the Con Air theme in there. Like during the car chase. I think that would have made it even more to legendary status. But as it is, it's a fun movie, it's entertaining, and there's a good nature to it, and it's worth a watch. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.